Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be diving into a VOD review of the finals of the February monthly finals for the Pokemon Unite Championship Series for Korea. Now I'm going to be looking at the Japanese finals as well, and I'm probably only going to mostly pay attention to the finals because this is a long stream and there's a lot of regions and games for us to look at. So let's go ahead and dive in. We have Persona versus Eternity. First and foremost, the stream setup is amazing, but let's look at the comp. So we have Score Comp versus Score Comp. We have Goal Getter Dragonite, Goal Getter Talonflame, Fluffy Tail Greedent, Slow Smoke, Wigglytuff, and Full Heal Lucario, with a very similar setup on the other team. The only difference is the Slow Smoke versus Eject button on Wigglytuff. So mirror score comps. Let's go on ahead and dive into the game. Don't have the comms on because I don't speak Korean. Let me make sure this quality is all the way up. Look at this. Like I said, stream presentation is amazing. They're doing spectator mode on mobile, so yeah, it's really, really good. I feel like my camera's a little bit high up, but I'll let y'all know about timers and stuff. I don't feel like moving in. Look at this. We've never seen two Greedents handshake in mid before, I don't think. That's actually crazy. Really interesting. The Dragonite was starting on red buff. Wait, is that something they do to counter the Greedent invade? Both teams' Dragonite started on red buff. Wow. Okay. Well, so Personas did not get it, but this one did. Wait, I'm so confused. Didn't they both start? Okay, so he just must have got there in time to get it. And now we have some like top lane handshake fighting. This is just so interesting. Listen, we don't see Score Comp v Score Comp in full effect at the highest level too often, but these are obviously the top two teams in Korea, at least you know, at the time of this recording of this broadcast. Also, just look at the stream setup. Look at like how at the Persona you can see it's got the the little ticks for the series game count. The top right, it's got the Rotom and Dreadnought ticks. The mobile FOV is much better. The mobile UI has like the players on the sides. Now they're all in score mode. You see the goal getters drop in. Lots of score going down. We can see the score at the top. This is just crazy. This is crazy. And right back to invading. This is such an interesting meta to watch versus itself. And this is why it brings up so many questions about how it's going to do against like a more Western meta, where the goal is to just try to beat them and fight them and stay ahead. Look at this, though. So much fighting over these buffs in the jungle. And they run 2-on-2, so like playing, like leaving someone in the lane is like not a big deal, right? Like the Lucario can peel down and help and stuff. Ooh, Persona's struggling here. Oh, he got it. Does he get out though? Does he get his covet? Oh my gosh, almost. He was coveting away, but crazy. So yeah, they definitely like covet and belch. It's kind of like what I've seen to be the preferred competitive build for Greedent. Using the Fluffy Tail, have that heavy secure with the strong belch. Then obviously Fluffy Tail super good early with tackle. Just so aggressive, just taking everything. We're, you know, less than 3 minutes into the game and both teams have practically scored 100 points. And they're just all over the map. This is so hectic. That's the funnest thing about watching this. They're everywhere. You got 3 people on one side jungle, 1 person invading over here, 5 people just brawling in the middle of the lane. They're not even just like on their sides. Like Western meta is a lot more. I don't mean this to sound like it's like elitist. It just seems a lot more structured. It's a lot more on script. Western meta is. They know where they want to be. They know exactly how they want to do it. And these do too. These players do too, but it's just a little bit more chaotic looking. All right, the dread flip happens. Both teams are still prioritizing being strong and experienced because at some point they have to fight each other and brawl over these objectives and these points and these scores anyways. So still prioing the Dreadnought. I think that there's a misconception that you know, they might prioritize the Rotom because it's like a score comp, but if you're playing score comp v score comp, you still want to be stronger. I'm assuming it's Fly Flame Charge for the Talonflames. That's much more of like the scoring kind of Talonflame style. And again, one thing I've noticed in score comps is that they don't pay attention to, yeah, Fly Flame Charge. They don't pay attention to like overdunking. They're just trying to score, right? They want to score. It doesn't really matter how per se. Nice. So Persona locks that one down with the Dragonite. Enemy Dragonite, Eternity's Dragonite tried to get in, but he had to use the Unite move, and that's a hard steal. That's a hard steal. right, they're pushing this one in. They have an easy pick there, so now they're probably going to rotate off and go score because they've been answered, so they can't really stay there, right? I think the end game, like the rush of... Interesting. Like right there, they could have overdunked there. So the point is, like, they actually want to overdunk less because they're trying to open up the base. Does that make sense? It's actually like the opposite. Because he wants to open up the base so they have a base win con. So instead of putting the 28 in the tier 1, they want to put the 40 and the 28 in the top tier goal. So that way they can guarantee open that goal, especially before next Rotom, if possible. So you can see that the metas are truly just like opposite ends of the spectrum, where the Western meta is about having a high level and having a team fight that can win the team fight to secure Zap and or just hold / secure a point lead. And this meta is about having heavy secure and a score lead consistently with a win condition. And the reality is that I think that if a Western, sorry, I'm getting much more analytical about Western versus Eastern meta here instead of just analyzing this game. So forgive me for that. But I think that the reality is that we have two sides of the spectrum, and I think that if a Western team can slow down and outlevel a scoring team, then the scoring team will have a hard time continuing to score against them. But I think that if an Eastern meta team, like I'm talking Worlds now, if an Eastern team is able to get the ball rolling and to keep their lead, then the Western team won't be able to slow it down, and then they'll go into the final stretch basically without an opportunity to win. So I think it's all going to depend on like first dread and like the first set of team fights, I suppose you could say, like first set of group fights. So Persona has a 65-point lead right now. They're fighting over this Rotom, which is really, really big. Ah, that would have been so huge for Persona. They're actually going to get taken down, so the game's going to be super, super close here. This honestly, like that's the other thing about score comp too, is like you can't really read which team is like winning easily, because both teams, okay, like 40 dunk there. That's 295 to 270. This game is basically even. You look at the levels, Persona is down in levels. So I guess you could say that Eternity is kind of like winning in theory because they have higher levels, which could equate to a better, like team fight into base score or preparation for a base score. And we'll see what they do when they don't have like a ton of points. Because dying at this stage of the game, losing energy, is pretty damning. It looks like Persona's prioing the Dread, and Eternity's going to give that up. They're probably farming right now. They just want to make sure they have a lot of points on them. I'd say you'd need, like, to do a base win con, you would need at least, like, 30 points each, right? You know what I mean? Because, like, it's, I mean, or like, average 30 points each. Like, Lucario doesn't have any points. Their Wiggly doesn't have any points. Persona's like hard sitting on Zap. And that's the thing, when these games are so score heavy and the map is starved of energy, do they just play for a Zap fight now? You know what I mean? It's interesting. Like, does either team actually go for... No, it's literally just a full-on Zap flip fight. This is crazy. Okay, so Persona takes the Zap flip. I mean, that literally was just a full flip. And trying their best to secure. All right, well, let's see if they can counter score. Teammates. I wonder how many of the teams, that's the other thing, I can't see Unite moves, but I wonder if the two Wigglies both ulted. I think I saw one, because if you save the ult, then there's an opportunity to score. But it also just depends. You can see the Eternity Wiggly is trying to secure farm. Because, oh wow, he actually stopped that. That's actually a bad death if he dies. There's his focus band proc. Okay, no, he gets it off. There's no way. Yeah, he gets that off. He's gonna die though. They know they have huge lead. No way he gets away with that. Now he dies. Okay. There might be time for them to accumulate some points. Oh, I mean, Persona's still just staying score heavy. Yeah, they would have to get... I mean, really, like, they would have to be fully loaded with, like, a 5-person score. Just about. I feel like it's going to be really, really, like, tight margins for Eternity to score enough. And they're still scoring, right? Like, it is still happening. There's Eternity's greed and score, so that's good. I mean, again, it's just about, like, just constantly scoring against each other. Now, here's the last score on this side. So, yeah, Persona takes it because they can't stop this in time. That gradient score, like, all but confirms it, more or less. So it's so interesting. Full score comp versus full score comp, they still have to go for Zap because it's like the free points that you can get from Zap before going into endgame scoring. So really, really crazy. Really, really crazy to watch. All right, that's just game number 1. Let's try to fast forward it a little bit, see if I can find the start of game 2. Persona versus Eternity. We're watching the full score comps in action. I'm just on the VOD. I don't have it downloaded because I don't want to spend the time to download it. Let's see if this will let me. I didn't get to look at the items, but see if I can go to it. Okay, so let's look at some of the items. I mean, it's pretty standard. Score Shield Dragonite, Score Shield Dragonite. Full tank, full tank. Score Shield attack weight. Buddy Barrier on the Lucarios. Score Shield Razor Claw versus Score Shield attack weight on the Talonflames. So everything is like almost exactly the same. Like, honestly, even builds like I would really expect. TBH. Yeah, full tank Wigglies. Like, nothing completely out of the ordinary that I wouldn't expect for them to run. Alright, let's see if we can get a little bit further in. Alright, game 2. Persona versus Eternity. You know, I feel like you have to kind of, like, set the tone and be the team that has the... It's so funny because if both teams are trying to score, you can't do full score comp without... and still ignore Zapdos unless you have, like... I don't think you can ignore Zapdos at all. I really don't. Wait, this is interesting. One of the Dragonites... Persona's Dragonite, like, helped lane, and the other one started immediately on a buff. And then they start red buff. And he loses it. So he needs to consider maybe just starting on his buff early. That's so interesting that they start red buff. I think that's to deal with Greed and Invade. Something to learn there. Because you don't want to give them red buff. Or, like, if you have red buff, you can, like, auto attack slow them. But also, you don't want to give them blue buff, I suppose. Because then if you give them blue buff, they can steal more. It's really interesting. It's an interesting thought. Interesting concept. But this invade is just so annoying. I'm surprised that... Well, that's the thing. Like, with score comp, like, the way that Western meta deals with invade is, like, we send somebody and we deal with it, right? Or we anticipate it and you deal with it. But that slows down scoring. So maybe they just, like, you know, you just deal with it. If you're the jungler, you just deal with it. I don't know. They're not really racing to level 9, but I wonder how that would look against these teams. All right, they collapse in on the Lucario, who goes into the jungle. I think, if anything, dying is like most consequential because of losing your energy. And the reality is, like, you can't really stop these goals anyways, right? Like, these 5-pointers, 7-pointers, 3-pointers, like, you're not really stopping them anyways. Persona's Greedent is Grief in the jungle on that second rotation. You can see it's happening on the other side as well from Eternity's Greedent. They're just in full 1v1 wiggly laned bottom. It's so interesting. I would almost expect the duo lane. Like, I would almost expect the Wigglies to be top lane with like Lucario, Talonflame, and bottom for more experience and more farm. I wonder why what the thought process is behind having the like invaded like solo lane be bottom lane. Maybe because it's the lane's smaller, so like it's harder for like a Talon Lucario to score in bottom. That's got to be what it is, right? Like it's just harder for them to score if they have such a long lane. All right, so first big fight is gathering because these teams do recognize that Dreadnought is big experience, which keeps them in the lead, which helps them win. It just seems like these fights are so hard engaged and so flipped. Like, there's so much madness to that. All right, Eternity walks away with it. They get the shield, they get the heal. They're stepping forward now. Let's see who gets the score in. Okay. They get their Wiggly 20, and that breaks. And they're going to go ahead and take down Persona's Wiggly, or whoever it was, their Greedent. Now they're tier 2 pushing. Eternity stayed top. Eternity's Talonflame also stayed top that whole time. Wow, Persona's getting crushed this game. Eternity also stayed top, and they kept the Talon on the Rotom, so they get that as well. So they have a lot of pressure right now. They're winning by over 200 points. They're trying to steal jungle. They have level lead. I think the biggest consequence is that like when a game starts getting this far out of control and you're playing the exact same strategy, like how do you score? Or like how do you score a ton and close the gap on this strategy when they're doing the same thing against you, but they're doing it, you know, like better? So we'll have to see how Persona decides to like try to deal with this. No, get your 4 points in. No. See what I mean? They're just like they're desperate for turn-in. Because Persona just doesn't, they can't, you know what I mean? Like at this point, I feel like Eternity is so strong that they could probably block a lot of goals, but maybe not. There's a 38 goal. I mean, against a solo Wiggly, you're not stopping it. So they break a goal. But they're down in farm. And that's what's great about Covet, right? Is like, it's so hard to kill that you just kind of like walk away from it. He steals farm and he's just gonna walk away, you know? Alright, Dread 2 is coming up, and you can see everybody's coming to flip it. That's how these fights go. They just hard engage and hard flip. Lucario came in with a close combat. You can see big ults for this, because again, I do think that they've recognized that keeping a lead is very important. Eternity wins that one. They're gonna full kill Persona. So again, Persona, the biggest consequence is losing their points. Like even 3 points, you know what I mean? Like they're so behind. Eternity is going to be able to kind of like posture, get map position, get, you know, get a kill here, get whatever they want. They're gonna prio the Rotom. I think Persona. It's interesting because Persona like can't full commit to a fight because they're weaker on the same comp, and they can't score because they don't have any points, not really, and they also can't like hard commit to bot lane because there's a 50-point Lucario down there. So Persona, I'm gonna be honest, I'm sitting here, I don't see how they win this game unless they get Zap and then win a team fight, making Eternity drop all their points, and then yeah, because you can see at this point, Eternity, they know that they're so far ahead that they don't even need to score, right? Like the point of score comp isn't to put up 1,000 points. The point of score comp is to consistently hold a score lead with a win condition. So if you know, it's relative. So if Eternity's keeping their score lead high over Persona, it's relative. They don't need to raise their score anymore. So at this point, it's actually more beneficial for them to try to slow Persona down and to kill them and to take energy away from them to keep the levels high and to be able to win a fight over Zapdos than it is just to like throw their lives away and score. That said, Persona has actually brought it back quite a bit in this last, like, I don't know, minute of me talking. They were able to get a few turn-ins and they've closed the gap quite a bit. And more. and more. So, okay. So they're closing the gap. Less than 100 points now. In the lead is Eternity. They're going to be flipping this final Dreadnought. Let's say flipping, but there's nobody there. They're getting this final Dreadnought. Oh, wow. Look at that. Persona steals. Okay, so Persona steals that. I mean, that's good. That's going to help them with their endgame fight quite a bit. Like, the levels are pretty close. It's like 12s. It's like 11. No, the levels are like the same. There's like 113 on each team. So the levels are the same. So strength-wise, these teams are almost exactly the same. Points-wise, about 80 points difference between Persona and Eternity. We'll see how they posture. Because they do have to play around Zapdos. That's how they do it. Turns into the full flip. It immediately starts happening. All of it goes down. All right, Persona secures it. I don't even know how. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea how they secure this. Like, Dragonite's Hyper Beam is probably not even what secures. I should have looked. But you can see Eternity's response is to immediately try and go base score. Right? Because any of those base scores that they can get for free without having to burn a Unite move is a Unite move that they can save for base scores. So Persona's taking the lead naturally because they're getting kills on Eternity, but also they get the Zapdos turn-ins. So they got points. They get to score here. Okay, so Persona's gradient has to back up. 577 Persona takes lead over Eternity. They do have the lead, but here's the thing. You can't defend lead against score comp. You have to go counter score it. You have to go base score it. So I think that we're going to be watching Persona build up their points and build up their Unite moves to go for a base score. We saw that they just got 58 more points off their Dragonite. That's important. Now they're actually fighting because this could be big kills. Because look, you kill those two players, they're off the field now. They lose their energy. Oh, Persona wins this. Persona's going to win this because now they full base score. These endgames are this meta is just so incredibly different. They have to push in here. There's no way that they can stop all the people from scoring. And with no score and with no opportunity, Eternity is down. Eternity had such good control of this game. Honestly, zap flipping with full 5v5 teams, like full on flip, is crazy. It's so crazy. So Persona's going to take the finals. Eternity honestly played amazing. I think both of these teams for the Pokemon Unite Championship Series for Korea showed really strong score comp play. Like, seriously, like, this is probably some of the most like optimized I've seen it, even down to the fighting, like knowing that they need to fight at the right time and like holding the score lead. And man, I don't know. That one slipped away from Eternity, but Persona take it in game number 2. Like I said, I believe this is the finals just based on the position of the VOD. You can see they have some like replays and stuff at the end of the VOD, but they've... Yeah, I can actually fast forward to the bracket. I haven't even watched this like whole broadcast, obviously, but we'll kind of see if we can take a look at that. It'll let me. But yeah, that's the match result. Persona versus Eternity. So Persona 2-0'd their first team, 2-0'd their second team, 2-1'd, 2-1'd Eternity. Or Persona actually lost to Eternity. I think this is losers bracket. I'm not actually sure. Or they're just showing dual sides of bracket. I'm not sure. This is probably winners bracket. This is probably losers bracket or something, or winners bracket finals into championship finals. I'm not actually sure how they have this set up, but you can see it comes down to a rematch between Persona and Eternity. So Eternity actually beat Persona earlier in this series, which is crazy. Yeah, I'm a little confused how this bracket works. I'm a little confused how this bracket works, but I'm just like looking at it because like Eternity lost here. So I'm assuming that this was them coming into losers bracket. I don't know. This is them coming out of losers bracket. They just don't show the full bracket, I don't think. I don't know. It's a little confusing. And it says from winners bracket, but it's a little confusing either way. Yeah, I think this is them coming out of losers bracket. So this is like winners bracket finals or something over here. I'm a little confused. But either way, friends, thank you so much for watching. The Korean score comps are in full force. I'm going to be taking a look at the Japanese games here in a minute, so I'm looking forward to doing that. As always, drop a like in the video. Leave me a comment if you would. Be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.